we begin in Tennessee. Shelby County's Board of Commissioners there set to vote on whether or not to reappoint Justin Pearson back to his seat in the state's House of Representatives later today.
Pearson, you'll recall, is one of two black Democrats who was kicked out of his elected seat by the Republican supermajority in the House. The offense that led to their expulsion, participating in anti-gun protests on the chamber floor. Republican legislators argued that the protests broke the House's decorum rules. This left their seats open. And on Monday, Nashville's Metro Council voted to reinstate Representative Jones as his own interim successor. Pearson hopes he will have the same success in this afternoon's vote.
I am very hopeful that the Shelby County Commission, despite some of the pressure that we're hearing coming from the state capitol about withdrawing funding and things like that, are not going to yield into that pressure, and they too are going to unanimously support us coming back to Nashville and serving the people of District 86 as the people of District 86 voted for us to do so in the primary and the general election.
CBS News' senior national correspondent Mark Strassman joins us now from Memphis, Tennessee. Hi there, Mark. So, obviously, with Representative Justin Jones being reinstated on Monday and Justin Pearson likely being reinstated today, we have to only imagine what kind of reception they're likely going to receive from the same Republicans who threw them out of office. What can you tell us?
Right. There's bound to be hard feelings on both sides, right? You don't go through a moment like this where the majority kicks out a couple of members of the minority, and then only to see the minority, those two members come right on back within a couple of days and not feel as though that everyone's just going to forgive and forget, because that's just not the way politics works, and that's not the way human nature works by and large either. So I talked to Justin Jones about that yesterday. You know, as you recall, he's already back in the House chamber, and I said, okay, so how are these guys, the same guys who kicked you out, how are they treating you now? And he said, the same people who said good morning to me before say good morning to me now, and the people who never said anything to me won't talk to me even now. So what he also said, though, is he has not got his committee assignments back yet. And so that's another way, of course, that the House Speaker could continue to punish these lawmakers, is by allowing them to, because he has no choice, to sit at their desks, but in fact try to marginalize them as much as possible. So there's going to be some pushing and shoving behind the scenes here, I think, trying to establish new boundaries and new power centers on both sides.
Yeah, and much of that, Mark, is because the Republicans were successful in having these representatives, expelled. They didn't represent their district for those days. But in many ways, folks are saying this is blown back on Republicans, because now they have a national platform. More people know these young men's names. And now that they're being reappointed, I'm wondering, are there other options open to Republicans who maybe want to, I don't know, compete against them, perhaps, in the state's upcoming special election?
Well, you're right, Errol. I mean, my view is that it clearly boomeranged on House Republicans. They were trying to expel them and, in effect, silence them, make them smaller. The boomerang is, if anything, it's made them bigger.
Right.
These are the two players now with a national voice. These are the two names that people outside the state of Tennessee know, whereas, I mean, could most people outside the state of Tennessee name one House Republican, even the House Speaker in Tennessee? Probably not. So if anything, these people have become bigger. What can they do about that? That is, the House Republicans at this point. They certainly can't punish them twice for the same offense. That's, in effect, a double jeopardy situation. That's against Tennessee state law. Could they encourage people to run against them in the special election once the governor sets the date for the special election? Absolutely, they could. They could definitely do that. But at this point, I think the Republicans have to resign themselves to the fact that one lawmaker is already back, the second lawmaker is likely to go back, and they're going to have to figure out what to do about that.
Well, as they're figuring all of that out, Mark, I'm just wondering how effective the chamber can be, because it seems like a lot of energy has been taken up in trying to expel these members, only to have them come back. But the substance of what needs to be discussed in that body from both Representative Jones and Pearson was about how to deal with the problem of school shootings that just happened there, particularly in Representative Jones's district. Is there actual work that is being done in the chamber?
There is work that's being done because, remember, there's a supermajority that Republicans hold in that chamber. They outnumber the Democrats 3-1. I mean, they are going to impose their will in a number of ways on legislation that's introduced on the House floor. So that said, that it does seem to be a chamber that has its share of dysfunction going on. There certainly are there's their reputation outside that, maybe inside the state of Tennessee, but certainly outside the Tennessee I would say is in potentially tatters. I mean, this doesn't make anybody look good. It seems like a bullying move, an overreaction in a lot of ways. Clearly, these two Democrats were disruptive. They violated House procedure. Should they have been censured? Well, maybe that's up, of course, to the individual lawmaker who's trying to judge a situation. Should they have been expelled? Doesn't that seem like overkill, like a punishment that does not fit the crime in the eyes of most people? I think the national consensus is, yeah, it does. And so everyone's going to have to sort of live with the repercussions of this. And once the Shelby County Commission today votes on whether to reinstate Pearson, both the two Democrats and the Republican supermajority are going to have some work to do, trying to figure out how are we going to get along with each other and how we're going to work with each other in the days ahead.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, things have been shaken up there in Tennessee. Mark Strassman covering all of it for us.
No doubt.
We appreciate it, Mark. Thank you.